before, and then we'll check off those little spots. So Search Console, we have two ways that we can verify, two types of ways to verify. You can do the domain, and each has their pluses and minuses. So Search Console, if you do the URL prefix, it will only do a certain URL. So maybe it's just searchandsocialgeeks.com. And whereas if you do this DNS version, this one is more comprehensive. So it takes into account variations or subdomains, which can be good or bad depending on how your website is set up. So say if you have a blog that's on blog.mydomain.com, you may want to track that separately because it's doing its own thing and it's trying to rank for its own keywords. And you don't want to have that data blended in with the other data. Or you may have your shop and you want to keep tabs on what's going on with shop.mydomain.com. And so these are all going to be variations that you're going to want to kind of keep separate. So generally, for getting started, we recommend doing URL prefix. So that means that what we're going to do is we're going to verify this domain here. So just clicking on it, hitting copy, and pasting it here. We're going to hit continue to verify. Sometimes they've gotten really good at auto verification. So we're going to see if you're still muted.
You make the screen bigger, please. There you go.
Okay, so we do have a couple of methods. We have Google Analytics. We have the tag manager. We have the DNS. So you can also verify with the DNS. Again, that's a much more technical. Not everyone has access to the domain level. And so generally we, unless it's absolutely necessary, we're not going to recommend that. But in our case, because we just installed the Google Tag Manager, I'm going to try and verify it with that. Hopefully it works. It doesn't always. It can be a little touchy. So in our case, we're going to do HTML tag. And what we do is it's got these nice handy instructions. We're going to copy this. We are going to install it in the head code. And then very similar to how we did this with the Google Tag Manager. Now, one thing to bear in mind is you may think, hey, I can install this using Google Tag Manager. It won't work because the way Google verifies is they will not trigger Google Tag Manager because they just scan the page with the spider. So you actually need to install it into the code itself. So it's one of the few things that you can't just use Tag Manager to do, as much as I would like to. And we're going to go into the dashboard again. And we're going to go back to our header footer code manager. And we're going to go add new. The snippet's name is going to be Search Console Verification. The type is going to be in HTML. We want it in the header, which is what they said. They said to add it to the head code. And then we're just going to add this little bit of code, and we're going to hit save. And also, because I just made some changes that are small to the website, what I'm also going to do is, if you have anything that's caching or trying to make your website go faster, you're going to want to purge all the caches just in order to make sure that there isn't any lingering bit of code that could be a cache that's messing up your verification. So now that that is all done, we're going to go back over to Mr. Search Console. I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner of this tab that we have open. And it says verify. Hit that guy.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
We have green. Woo! Yeah.
Now, it is just as easy if you have Google Analytics you'll see there's the 4 options to add the code, to verify the code, which was Google Analytics, Tag Manager, and the HTML. So I actually do it slightly differently than
there's two HTML codes to add. So there's one that's going to go in the head, and then there's also a file, but not everyone can add the file. And that's one's a little more, I don't like the HTML file verification. And then the 5th way is the DNS.
Didn't you just do the HTML?
No, see, there's an HTML file and there's an HTML tag. And yes, that is confusing and stupid. Don't ask me why they get, it's cool that they give you lots of options. Basically, just pick the tag. The tag is the one I just did. There's also one that's like an actual file that like Google can go visit and be like, oh yeah, you've installed this file.
And if you struggle with this, don't worry, because we'll show you each way in a separate video on Kajabi. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now we have successfully verified, and this is very common. We're going to need to wait for Google as they kind of correlate the data. One good thing about Search Console is that usually if your website's been around and it has been indexed by Google, that there will be historical data. If you install Google Analytics, it has no historical data. It doesn't know anything until it's been on the website and activated. This is Google, who has been tracking your website already, is going to share with you this information. So that's what's really cool about this as well, because you don't really know what keywords you've been ranking for, pages. Of course, we're all going to go into this a bit more when we go through that Search Console class.